All right, so in this video, we're going to talk about fitting air conditioning to your classic vehicle, hot rod, classic car, muscle car, whatever it is. There's quite a few ways of doing it and a few different options. I'll run through really quick, like the evaporator units, the engine side of it, compressors, brackets, and everything like that. But one thing we want to run through is the hoses, because it seems to be when we get guys coming in asking about it, that's the area guys are like, I don't really know how that happens. So evaporators, obviously, there's two types. You've got your under dash unit, which I'll put one up in the corner. There's a couple of different options. You can get ones for $400 or $500 off, from the sort of Chinese made ones, which are absolutely fine. If it's something you're only going to use on the weekend, we've had no dramas with them at all. You can get the vintage air ones, which are really nice. The Heritage series, which look like, they've got the 4 holes, like they're based on these sort of mid-60s Mustang style. Great looking units, work very well. Once again, we fitted those. We've never had any problems with any of those either. This is a vintage air Gen 2 Mini, so this is an integrated style. This would go up under the dash. You've got your outlets here that would then feed to sort of dash mounted vents. And this even has the 2 top outlets that will go up for demist. We've got another unit that we've been putting in the blue one. Once again, I'll put that here or somewhere, just to show you that is a smaller style. Same thing, integrated unit, where the unit's up behind the dash. We've got the outlets running through, and then the vents will be coming out of the dash. Now, Vintage Air, and I think a couple of other places also do what they call direct fit kits. So for your popular American cars, 55, 57 Chev, Mustang, Camaro, Chevy pickup. I think they cover some of the Mopar stuff, E-bodies and B-body Chryslers. And they have everything. So it's designed to fit into that specific car. 57 Chevs, we've done a couple of those. Bolts in, uses factory holes. You get the cutouts and blanking off areas that are designed to fit into 57 Chevs. It even has where the control is for the heater. You need a heater control. You take all that out. You use the slides, converts it all to electro. Comes with hoses, dryer, all the bits and pieces, condenser, all designed to fit specifically into those vehicles. And I think some of them, even the hoses, are all pre-crimped. Obviously, you're going to pay more for that because you're not having to do any fabrication. Those kits are $2,000 US. So obviously, in Australia, you're probably going to hit $3,500 to $4,000 by the time you get it here, with exchange, freight, GST, etc. They do fit well. They do work well. We've fitted 2 or 3 57 Chev. We've fitted them Chev pickups. You can sort of go back and look for those videos. I think we have put them up. But your more universal fit stuff, like for Australian cars, obviously, you can't really buy it. There is a couple of guys over east that do kits for HQ to Z Holden, but that's probably about it. After that, you can buy a unit, work out how to mount it, work out, you have to run all your own hoses and all that sort of stuff. So what we'll do now, obviously I've covered that. As we're talking, I'll show some of the integrated units. Now we'll go out the back and I'll show you the compressors that are generally used and that sort of thing. And then we'll run through hoses and how we've done it, where you could do it at home and save yourself a few dollars. So, as you can see on this engine, it's got what they call it, a Sandon 508 style compressor. You can buy the genuine Sandon ones, like off the top of my head, $250 US, obviously maybe about $500. Now there's heaps of cheaper ones available, and they come with 2-year warranty and everything like that. So they're pretty good. They usually run a V-belt. Now when it comes to bracketry, you can obviously buy, this has just got steel brackets. I'll do a little cut in so you can see it a little bit closer. So this one's got steel brackets. You can get billet aluminium brackets. You can get full front runner systems that have the aircon, alternator, everything all tied in. So there's a whole bunch of companies that do those front runners type systems. They usually use this style of compressor. You do see some other ones now coming on board. There's electric compressors coming on board as well now. We haven't done one of those yet. We will be going to do one maybe in a few weeks. I'm going to buy one from a Barracuda. We're going to fit it, give it a go in my car and see what it's like. We know 2 or 3 guys who are running them in their own cars now and haven't had any problems, but we don't know about them now. So That's your compressor. And obviously when you're doing your engine, you've got to think about bracketry, pulleys, where your alternator is, can you get to the power steering, all that sort of stuff. So normally we would recommend, if you've already got one particular brand of power steering and alternator bracket, to buy the same brand aircon bracket. That way you know they should all work together. So that covers that. Let's now talk about hoses. Craig's back there working on the car, so if the car starts moving around randomly while I'm filming, don't panic. Now, I was going to show you the condenser in this car, but you can't see it now because we've got the grill and everything in. But I'll turn the camera around.
Nice.
It looked good.
Yeah, it looked great. It was black.
Black.
About that big.
Yeah.
And it had fins in it.
So that's what they look like.
It looked like a small radiator.
Yes, that's basically what they look like. But I'll turn the camera around and then we'll go through the hoses and how to route them and where you need to have. So you can kind of see in here, there's the condenser. You can sort of, oh no, you can't quite see it. But anyway, there's the hose off it, right? So on your condenser, each condenser is going to have two different size outlets. One is -8 and one is -6.
So one's an inlet.
One's an outlet, basically. So what's going to happen is I'll come around, I'm going to go around the hoist. Excuse me. Sorry, hoist. So you can see the -8 will then come up onto so the compressor has two different sizes as well. It has a -8 and -10. So the -8 that's coming from the condenser will come into the compressor. Ideally, you've got to have your feed lines. So you've got a red and a black fill points. And I think basically one goes in, the other one goes out, and it vacuums around. The closer you can have these to your compressor, the better. We got the hose guy and asked him if it was okay to put that there. He said that would be fine. Within 300 mils is usually okay. So this one, the -10, the larger of the hoses off the compressor, it goes, in this case, we've run it underneath to make it a bit neater. You can then see it comes up here. It goes directly into the back of the evaporator unit. So the -10, the larger one, straight into the back of the unit that's obviously behind that firewall. Then you've got a -6. So the smaller hose that's on the condenser, in this situation, you can't see it. It runs all the way under the chassis and it comes up and it goes into here. So you have to have, that's what they call the dryer. And in the dryer, you also have the pressure switch, because if it gets too high pressure, the switch will cut it off automatically. So you put your dryer and your switch in line, then that carries into the -6, then goes to the other outlet on the evaporator. So the evaporator's got -6, -10. The -6 goes to your condenser with a dryer in line. The -10 goes straight to the compressor. Then the -8 on the compressor goes straight to the condenser, and your fill points need to be as close as possible to the top of the compressor.
And the other thing, with the receiver dryer, it'll come pressurized with caps.
Yes.
Do not take the caps off.
Because once you do that, what happens to them, Craig?
It's fucked.
How do we know that?
We got told.
After we did it.
Well, we learned.
Because we just took it apart and went, yeah, look, we'll do
I
that.
didn't know what was in that canister.
No, it was magic.
You told me that.
It was black magic.
Yeah. So do not take the caps off
until you're
the
ready.
very last minute, because
Yes.
what happens is that takes all the moisture out of the system. So obviously, if you leave it sitting without the caps on, it just sucks in all the moisture from the air and it's rooted.
Yeah. Now, on the hoses, so obviously you can see here, these are crimped. Now, with the bends in all three sizes, -6, -8, -10, you can get, these are 120s, which are a little bit harder to come across, but we did find them. You can get 180s that full loop around. You can obviously get 45 degree, 90 degree, and straight. So what we did in this situation, so because we wanted to look reasonably neat, it is hard because obviously the aircon's exposed. But we want to run the hoses so they were out of the way and they weren't too exposed and you couldn't see them everywhere. So what we did, we worked out, okay, in this situation, we'd like the hose to come down here, so a 120 or in two 120s. Then it goes down there, there's a 90 down there. You can see we've got a 90 there and a 90 there. So we basically got the fittings. You can put them in place, they just screw on, and then you can get your hose and you can just slide it in. It'll sit there and it'll hold in place. And then you can run your hose where you want it. You want to run it, in this situation, we've run it down, we've run it underneath and come back up. And then under here, you can't see it, but it goes underneath the radiator and comes out the front. So that's how we did this one. So we ran all those hoses, put them all in place. You know, you can buy the fittings, like these fittings, the 120s, 180s are maybe 50 or 60 bucks Australian. The straights are 15, I think the 90s are maybe $20, $25. The hose, like roughly $10 a metre Australian. Obviously for the Americans, yeah, it's the Americans is probably half the price, but it gives you some idea. On this car, I can't remember exactly, there's around $350 to $400 worth of fittings, hose, and P-clamps. So we ran them all where we wanted. Then what we did, you can sort of just see it here. I've still got to clean this one up a bit. We marked, put a bit of paint on there and there. So like just there. So that way, we took them all off. We gave them to the air conditioning guy and he took them away, crimped them and brought them back. Of course, because each hose had the fitting on it and he could see where the paint marks were, that meant that's where he could line them up. Because I can tell you now, if you don't get them orientated the way you want, you're going to have a really hard time turning them, you know, because once they're crimped. And then, only this part of it sort of turns, like it's not a swivel. Right, so that's what the fittings look like. That's a Dash 890. You can see that what it looks like uncrimped. So you can just get your hose. It'll just slide in there nice and easy, like that. And then you can work out where you want to run it. Obviously, if you want to hide it, you could get 180s and really tuck it away under the fender and everything, or you're happy to just run it along the top of the manifold, whatever works for you. You can also get, obviously, really nice polished fittings and braided line, which you can just push together and screw together like a Aeroflow do them and that sort of thing. But like I said, for that car, there was $350 or $400 worth of hose and fittings and bits and pieces. If you did it in braided line and polished fittings, you probably triple that. When it comes to final fitting of your lines and your hose is already crimped, you have to put an O-ring on. So basically that'll just slide on, obviously nice and simple, like that. But what you do need to do is put a little smear of compressor oil on. Obviously, it's probably not worth going out to buy compressor oil for one job, but if you talk to the guy that crimps your lines, for example, or if you come and see us, we've got a bottle of it, PAG oil or compressor oil or something like that. You just run a little smear of it round just to lubricate the O-ring. Then when you go, you get your fitting all tightened, all on loosely, and when you tighten it up, you don't need to reef on it. Just pull it up and just give it a little bit of a nip. That's all you need to do. You don't need to over tighten it, otherwise you will crush that O-ring. So just nip it up and that's enough. Comes to, for example, doing a compressor on the engine like this, you also have to think about pulleys. This particular bracket, it's a bit hard to see. So down there, you can see the belt goes around the power steering pulley. So this one had to have a double power steering pulley fitted. And then we had to go, I think it's a double water pump pulley. Sometimes on Chevs, you may have to go to a triple water pump pulley. And then you may come to the outside of the compressor pulley. There's lots of different options when it comes to small, especially small block Chev and big block Chev. You can have them out here, you can have them high up the top here, sometimes even high on this side, which of course means then you've got to be careful about hoses and that sort of thing. Usually the Ford stuff is pretty straightforward. This is just a little under dash unit. You can see the customers had this set up so that he can use it as demister as well. These units are pretty inexpensive and work quite well. Well, I think that sort of covers everything. Hopefully it's of some use to everyone and makes things a little bit clearer and maybe gives you a bit more confidence to have a go yourself. Obviously, you can come and see us in the shop if you live in Perth, or in Australia, you can ring up and we'll help you out, no problems at all. Hit in the comments if you've got any other tips and suggestions. Hope you enjoyed the video.